Hey, what's up, YouTube? It's Richie from Boston. It's the 22nd. It's June 2025, and your boy is tired. It is incredibly hot in Boston right now. Really, really bad. And I've been working on my vehicle. I'm just about done, I believe. Now I got to turn the key and see if everything I did works. Always a fun time. And I'm trying to get out of here in the next week. So everybody I said I was going to meet, it's coming. So here we go. Hopefully, creek don't rise, good Lord's willing. But man, every time we turn around, something crazy's going on. Something crazy's going on. We are technically bombing Iran. You know what I mean? Technically, that's what they say. That's what they say. But we don't even know if any of this is real, to be honest. And that's so crazy to say, but seriously, we don't know if any of this is real, but it doesn't matter because the game is afoot. It is happening. This is exactly the last piece that they needed. And now we've got Iran making threats against us. We'll release sleeper cells, things of that nature. The Straits of Hormuz are being GPS jammed right now, etc. It's all part of the game. What's going to happen is we will suffer for it because that's the goal. Agenda 2030. It's 2025. They need to knock us out, get us all out of the way, all of us problem people out of the way, so they can build their Agenda 2030, their smart cities, and take all the stupid people that think vaccines are the best thing ever, stick them all right around the Great Lakes and all these little smart cities, and leave them there. And, it'll be terrific for them. At any rate, let's get into this. So I'm going to show you a video from a channel called the Infographics Show, and they've got 15 million subscribers, and he recently, exactly the same time as the strikes on Iran, released this video called "This is how the U.S. will respond if we are invaded." And I found it really strange. I found it to be a very odd video. So take a listen to this. I'm not going to play the whole thing, but take a listen to this, and then I'm going to show you the comments.
The sky over Seattle glows with fire and panic. At precisely 5:04 a.m., 3 high-altitude EMP detonations blind satellites and knock out the West Coast's power grid. Phones go dead, smart cars freeze mid-commute, and then the real nightmare begins. Cruise missiles, dozens of them, tear across Puget Sound, striking airfields, data centers, and power substations. Drone swarms buzz in from the Pacific, jamming radars and seeking out targets with terrifying precision. As the city reels, Russian commandos disguised as dock workers launch coordinated attacks on ports and infrastructure. Behind them, a Chinese amphibious force begins offloading troops and armor straight from retrofitted cargo vessels. Surveillance balloons hover high above, like ominous moons, feeding enemy commanders real-time imagery. It is the unthinkable made real. The homeland has been hit. Day 0, 4:30 a.m. Eastern. It's a normal spring morning when operators at North American Aerospace Defense Command, or NORAD, notice faint blips on the radar screens. High over the Pacific, U.S. infrared satellites detect the telltale heat plumes of multiple missile launches. Within seconds, computers identify them as a wave of incoming cruise missiles and short-range ballistic missiles, likely launched from enemy submarines and disguised cargo vessels positioned in international waters. What no one realizes yet is that this is not just a missile barrage. It is the opening move of a full-scale coordinated Russo-Chinese invasion of Seattle. The goal is a rapid surgical bite-and-hold campaign to seize a foothold on the U.S. mainland. They want to push the American Navy out of the Pacific long enough to establish maritime dominance, and if they play their cards right, a temporary forward base on U.S. soil. Claxons erupt through NORAD's Cheyenne Mountains Ops Center. This is not a drill. Phone trees and encrypted comms light up. In Washington, D.C., the president is urgently awakened and rushed toward a secure bunker as aides relay the staggering news. Day 0, 4:37 a.m. Eastern. Across the country, just 7 minutes later, Air Force and Air National Guard units spring into action. At least 16 air bases have fighters on strip alert under Operation Noble Eagle, the post-9/11 Homeland Air Defense mission. In Fort Worth, a pair of F-16s soar into the sky before their pilots are even fully awake. From Massachusetts to Hawaii, Ready Alert jets, F-15 Eagles, F-22 Raptors, and FA-18s from Navy stations are airborne within minutes, vectoring toward potential threat vectors.
Well, that's amazing. That's amazing. And this video goes on for 15 minutes of him explaining how quickly the U.S. will just completely squash this entire thing from Hawaii to Massachusetts. And, none of that's real because they had 2 hours with the 9/11 planes in the skies to figure things out. They had years to figure out the quote-unquote terrorists, but they did absolutely nothing. They did absolutely nothing. They flew the wrong way. I mean, the whole thing is a joke. These people do not understand that the people perpetrating this are also the people that are in charge of actually defending against it. And the funniest, craziest thing about this is looking at the comment section of this video, because I figured I'd see a lot more people that actually understood what was going on and what the actual purpose of this entire thing was. Suddenly, you know, I'm going to stop the wars the first day I get in there. I'm going to tell you what the drones are. I'm going to fix the economy right away. I'm going to get food prices dropped. Every single solitary thing that he said, he did the absolute opposite. Now we've got Iran claiming they're going to release terror cells. So that allows anybody that wants to pretend they're an Iranian terror cell to commit terror, correct? This is an incredible setup, and for someone with 15 million, it makes me believe that this channel that I've never heard of until this video happened to pop up in my feed probably works for the United States Army Division of PSYOPs, the one that I talked about before, and then, strangely enough, very shortly after, all my channels disappeared. But let's look at the comment section real quick, shall we? And let's take a look at the comment section, shall we? Here's one from some jerk 2 days ago that says, the government won't stop anything, as they always will be the ones perpetrating. Wake up, dude. All they have to really do is tell Americans they get an extra $1,000 per body on their taxes, and it'll be over before sunset. Don't threaten me with a good time, the American people. You cannot invade the mainland United States. There will be a rifle behind every blade of grass. Yamamoto. That was a long, long time ago he said that. A long, long time ago. Look at all the comments. Everybody is buying it. Oh, look at this comment. That was 70 years ago. Now there's a transgender or snowflake behind every school child. Ooh, that guy's smart. I'm going to give him a thumbs up. But you see what I'm saying? You see what I'm saying? American citizens aren't held to the Geneva Convention like the service members. There are people that are waiting for this moment. Yeah, well, the moment came when they told you to lock in. You did exactly what they said. You won't see it. You won't understand it. Don't forget the U.S. population is packing heat. You see what I mean? Texas, Oklahoma, Kansas play the national anthem in gunfire. Okay. How'd you deal with those illegals that were taking over Texas? It's just amazing. It's just amazing. Crazy. And it just goes on and on and on. This is America. These are the deluded people. And let me remind you in 5 minutes what happened on 9/11.
On the morning of September 11, 2001, 19 men armed with box cutters, directed by a man on dialysis in a cave fortress halfway around the world using a satellite phone and a laptop, directed the most sophisticated penetration of the most heavily defended airspace in the world, overpowering the passengers and the military combat-trained pilots on 4 commercial aircraft before flying those planes wildly off course for over an hour without being molested by a single fighter interceptor. These 19 hijackers, devout religious fundamentalists who like to drink alcohol, snort cocaine, and live with pink-haired strippers, managed to knock down 3 buildings with 2 planes in New York, while in Washington, a pilot who couldn't handle a single-engine Cessna was able to fly a 757 in an 8,000-foot descending 270-degree corkscrew turn to come exactly level with the ground, hitting the Pentagon in the Budget Analyst Office, where DoD staffers were working on the mystery of the $2.3 trillion that Defense Secretary Donald Rumsfeld had announced missing from the Pentagon's coffers in a press conference the day before, on September 10th, 2001. Luckily, the news anchors knew who did it within minutes.
Osama bin Laden.
The pundits knew within hours.
Osama bin Laden.
The administration knew within the day.
Terrorists who committed these acts and those who harbored them.
And the evidence literally fell into the FBI's lap.
That a hijacker's passport was found blocks from the World Trade Center crash site, if you can believe that.
But for some reason, a bunch of crazy conspiracy theorists demanded an investigation into the greatest attack on American soil in history. That investigation was delayed, underfunded, set up to fail, a conflict of interest, and a cover-up from start to finish. It was based on testimony extracted through torture, the records of which were destroyed. It failed to mention the existence of WTC-7, Able Danger, P-TECH, Sibel Edmonds, OBL and the CIA, and the drills of hijacked aircraft being flown into buildings that were being simulated at the precise same time that those events were actually happening. It was lied to by the Pentagon, the CIA, the Bush administration, and as for Bush and Cheney, Well, no one knows what they told it because they testified in secret, off the record, not under oath, and behind closed doors. It didn't bother to look at who funded the attacks because that question is ultimately of little practical significance. Still, the 9/11 Commission did brilliantly answering all of the questions the public had, except most of the victims' family members' questions, and pinned blame on all the people responsible, although no one so much as lost their job, determining the attacks were
failure of imagination.
Because
Nobody in our government, at least, and I don't think the prior government that could envision flying airplanes into buildings.
except the Pentagon, FEMA, NORAD, and the NRO. The DIA destroyed 2.5 terabytes of data on Able Danger, but that's okay because it probably wasn't important. The SEC destroyed their records on the investigation into the insider trading before the attacks, but that's okay because destroying the records of the largest investigation in SEC history is just part of routine record keeping. NIST has classified the data that they used for their model of WTC-7's collapse, but that's okay because knowing how they made their model of the collapse would jeopardize public safety. The FBI has argued that all material related to their investigation of 9/11 should be kept secret from the public, but that's okay because the FBI probably has nothing to hide. This man never existed, nor is anything he had to say worthy of your attention, and if you say otherwise, you are a paranoid conspiracy theorist and deserve to be shunned by all of humanity. Likewise him, and her, and her, and her, and him. Osama bin Laden lived in a cave fortress in the hills of Afghanistan, but somehow got away. Then he was hiding out in Tora Bora, but somehow got away. Then he lived in 𝗏𝗏𝗏 for years, taunting the most comprehensive intelligence dragnet employing the most sophisticated technology in the history of the world for a decade, releasing video after video with complete impunity and getting younger and younger as he did so, before finally being found in a daring SEAL team raid which wasn't recorded on video, in which he didn't resist or use his wife as a human shield, and in which these crack special forces operatives panicked and killed this unarmed man, supposedly the best source of intelligence about those dastardly terrorists on the entire planet. Then they dumped his body in the ocean before telling anyone about it. Then a couple dozen of that team's members died in a helicopter crash in Afghanistan. This is the story of 9/11, brought to you by the media which told you the hard truths about
His head could be seen to move violently forward.
and
They took the babies out of the incubators.
and
Mobile production facilities.
and
The rescue of Jessica Lynch.
if you have any questions about this story, you are a batshit paranoid tinfoil dog-abusing baby hater and will be reviled by everyone. If you love your country and or freedom, happiness, rainbows, rock and roll, puppy dogs, apple pie, and your grandma, you will never ever express doubts about any part of this story to anyone. Ever. This has been a public service announcement by the friends of the FBI, CIA, NSA, DIA, SEC, MSM, White House, NIST, and the 9/11 Commission. Because ignorance is strength.
Let me say, this meme right here really sums it up perfectly. But without just memes, let's listen to some actual Jews explain what Israel is.
If we are the chosen people, who are you to tell us what to do? Who are you? Who is the international community to tell Israel what to do? International law? Who? Wonderful thing. It doesn't apply on us. It applies on any other place on earth, not on Israel. Because we are the chosen people. Don't you understand it? The second very deep-rooted value is obviously the value of we, the victims, not only the biggest victims, but the only victims around. I know many occupations which were longer than Israeli occupation, than the Israeli occupation. Some were even more brutal, even though it's getting harder and harder to be more brutal than the Israeli occupation. I don't recall one occupation in which the occupier present himself as the victim. Not only the victim, the only victim. If to phrase here, if to quote here the late 𝗏𝗏𝗏, whom I quoted also last time, I know, but it is so unforgettable I have to use it again. She once said that we will never forgive the Arabs for forcing us to kill their children. We are the victims. We are forced to kill their children. Poor us. And as the victim and the only victim in history, again, it enables us the rights to do whatever we want, and nobody is going to tell us what to do, because we are the only victims. To this, there is a third very deep-rooted value. And this is the very deep belief, again, everyone will deny it, but if you scratch under the skin of almost every Israeli, you'll find it there. The Palestinians are not equal human beings like us. They are not like us. They don't love their children like us. They don't love life like us. They were born to kill. They are cruel. They are sadists. They have no values, no manners. Look how they kill us. This is very, very deep-rooted in Israeli society, and maybe that's the key issue. Because as long as this continues, nothing will move. As long as most of the Israelis don't perceive the Palestinians as equal human beings, we are so much better than them. We are so much developed than them. And we are so much human than them. As long as this is the case, all our dreams, and we have some dreams, and I'll get to them, all our dreams will never become true as long as this core issue will not change.
As an American Jew, I have no sympathy for Israel's policies at all. I find them abhorrent. I find them disgusting because they have prevented peace. In 2001, the so-called neocons, who are also the so-called Zionist part of the U.S. government, produced a document that called for 7 wars in the Middle East in 5 years after 2001. And those 7 wars were to take out Israel's enemies. And those 7 wars were Lebanon, Syria, Iraq, Somalia, Libya, Sudan, and Iran. And there have been 6 of those wars fought on Israel's behalf. And Israel is pushing for war with Iran.
So while the massive amount of Americans right now walk around going bomb, 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 bomb Iran, cool, that's cool. And while they're making videos saying how quickly America will take over the country once it gets attacked, I just find it strange that this whole thing is what happens when there is an invasion. And it shows China, it shows Russia, it shows Iranians, etc., so forth and so on. This all has to play out. This is all playing out whether we like it or not. It just doesn't matter. And it's astonishing that the people that say they'll stand up don't even know what's going on. How do you stand up and fight your enemy when you don't understand who your enemy even is? That was the point of my entire channel and so many other YouTubers over the years, showing the documentation, showing the proof, showing the patents, showing the clips, showing these politicians saying this stuff, and people just don't get it. Well, this is what Israel thinks of Christians. You know, it blows me away that Israel's our biggest ally. What has Israel ever done for us besides get us in wars, take massive amounts of your tax dollars daily, and then kill people in the most sadistic ways possible, and nobody seems to care or notice? It's just all no big deal. And this entire thing started with the flimsiest hoax ever. At least 9/11 started with a serious bang because Israeli agents were really good at their jobs. But they didn't even try on theirs because they knew nobody would care, in my opinion.
בסדר לירוק על נוצרים. עליהם ממש? לא יודע, אני יורק על הרצפה, אולי אם אני רואה צלב, אם אני רואה נוצרי לבד. אתה כן? אני יורק על הרצפה, מגעיל אותי. למה? תושב? למה? כי נצרות זה משהו זה נגד היהודים משהו. אם הם עובדי עבודה זרה, אז אנחנו צריכים למוס בהם ולשקט אותם ולרמוס אותם ובעיקרון גם להרוג אותם, כי הרי גוי חייב בשבע מצוות בני נוח, ואם הוא לא מקיים את זה צריך להרוג אותו. אבל... אתה תהרוג מישהו? אם הייתי יכול, הייתי מאוד שמח לעשות את זה, אבל אין לנו בית דין, אז אנחנו לא יכולים לעשות את זה. שמאמין שהאלוהים שלי הוא חלק מאיש, אז צריך להרוג אותו. מי שמזלזל באלוהים שלי, אז אני אהרוג אותו. אז זה לא, אבל זה תפקיד שלכם, להרוג או לרעוק, זה לא התפקיד של אלוקים? לא, השם אומר לנו מה לעשות. תפקידה בעולם זה לעשות טוב, לגרום שהעולם יהיה נקי. כן. אז כל בן אדם שיאמין באיזה בן זונה אחד. אבל איזה כתוב? אבל איפה זה כתוב? איפה זה כתוב בגמרא? אתה רוצה להביא גמרא? אנחנו יכולים להביא גמרא ולראות. אבל מישהו שעובר שהוא נוצרי, הוא לא עושה את זה יום יום. זה ממש כמו יריקה בפרצוף, הוא נמצא כאן בבית של אלוקים, והוא בא ויורק עליו, הוא מתייחס אליו בצורה שגויה ביותר, בצורה שזה ממש כמו יריקה. לכן זה ממש... זה שהם קיימים. אני לא נכנס עכשיו לנידון אם צריך לירוק או לא צריך לירוק, אבל עצם זה שבן אדם בא נכנס, אז הוא נכנס, זה כמו שהוא יורק לאבא שלך בפרצוף. אבל הוא חי פה. זה לא משנה. אם הוא עכשיו...
So with all that in mind, everything I've just presented to you, understand that this is a well-orchestrated, well-thought-out takedown of the entire world. And America is the special child, okay? We've been allowed to have a constitution. We've been allowed to have weapons. We've been allowed to do a lot of things other people take for granted. I'm still grateful when I wake up in the morning and I can actually turn on the faucet and get water out of it, even though I have to filter it because it's full of fluoride, which is in there to make you dumber. I'm still happy that I can go outside and look up at the sky and count how many airplanes are chemtrailing. But it doesn't matter. It doesn't. All that stuff doesn't even matter because we are at the precipice. We are dealing with the synagogue of Satan. The people that claim they are Israelis are not. They're Ashkenazi Jews. Okay, they're not the apple of God's eye. I've told you that numerous times. They take too much pleasure in causing massive disruptions. And Americans stand for Israel even though they don't understand anything about Israel people at all. Okay? It's coming. It's coming. They've opened up all the doors, and now we've got threats of terror cells, which allows the U.S. government to use any veritable cornucopia of alphabet agencies to do attacks and blame it on Iran. Do you see where we're at right now? Do you see what's happened? It's astonishing that people still think that voting is something. 45 and 47 equal 9/11, and that's what's coming again. Period. You need to be ready for it. And speaking of that, this was just spotted off the coast of California and Oregon, oddly enough. One of those Facebook people that post every 7 seconds posted this, and it says, "What is this? This ship has been hanging off the west coast for a bit. Last week in Columbia River around Portland, Oregon." That ship, my friends, was the same ship that was seen at 9/11. It was right next to the Twin Towers on 9/11, and they call it a radar ship. It's NEXRAD, it's Doppler, because we don't have enough of them all over the world right now. This ship right here, lingering off the coast, makes me worry about this. Non-stop, every day, you can pull up a news story on the underwater volcano that's in Oregon that's ready to erupt any day now, according to experts. Any day. So bear that in mind. If this thing has been in the Columbia River Sound and off the coast in Oregon, what do you think they're getting ready to do? What do you think? Okay, so I just finished editing that video and I'm getting ready to go to bed. It's significantly later now, as you can see by the light or lack thereof in the room. But here's something really strange I noticed as I was watching this. Remember how I said I suspected that giant channel with 15 million subscribers that put out that video about what would the government do if we were attacked by outside forces the exact same night that Trump bombed Iran? The first thing he talks about is the Puget Sound.
The sky over Seattle glows with fire and panic. At precisely 5:04 a.m., 3 high-altitude EMP detonations blind satellites and knock out the West Coast's power grid. Phones go dead, smart cars freeze mid-commute, and then the real nightmare begins. Cruise missiles, dozens of them, tear across Puget Sound, striking air...
Well, that's weird because the boat, the mystery ship that's around Oregon, was spotted in the Puget Sound. That's just a coincidence, right? Just totally coincidental. So if you live in that area, head on a swivel, be ready. When you leave your house, act like you're never coming home again. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, you got to act like this is real because this is incredibly real. It's better to be prepared and not need it than need it and not be prepared. At any rate, Richie from Boston, I'm out. One more thing I want to add. Somebody recently sent me an image of our currency, and apparently the Space Needle, which is located in Seattle, Washington, was also on it. I can't find that right now, so it is what it is. Just like 9/11, we have the Doomsday plane in action, and then another mysterious HAARP ship floating around where it shouldn't necessarily be. But I'll leave it at that for now. What do you think they're getting ready to do? Something massive, something horrible. That's what they do. Guys, you need to hit your knees. You need to pray to God. Tell him to give you wisdom. Tell him to give you direction. And most importantly, ask him for discernment. All right, it's the last day of this. I'm taking this down tonight. If you want to get on this list, hit it up. If not, it's all good. Richie from Boston, I am out.